Hello fellow nerds and welcome back to another amazing Captain Marvel list. I'm your host Amanda McKnight. In this list, we get to explore the top 10 characters we most want to see in Captain Marvel. There was a lot to choose from for the list and a lot got left out, so let me know if there is someone I didn't include but that you are super excited to hopefully see in the film in the comments below. Also, fair warning, I dreamt big with this list. For those of you that are new, please remember to tap that subscribe button so you can stay informed on all things Marvel, DC, and otherwise nerdy. And now, time for our Cosmic Countdown. Number 10. Jan Rog. Or Marvel. And Jan Rog? There's been much speculation around who Jude Law will portray in Captain Marvel. At one point we all thought Kree leader? Well, I mean come on, has to be Marvel. The Kree leader who saves and later inspires Carol Danvers to change her name from the original Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel in his honor. But then we found out that although Carol has powers at the start of the film, she also has a big case of memory loss. And who is most likely responsible for that based on our comic book lore? Jan Rog. Though really through the presence of both these characters, Marvel and his jealous nemesis the villain Jan Rog, that Carol originally receives her powers. So which is it? Jan Rog or Marvel? Villain or ally? Well, according to IMDb, it is currently Jan Rog, with no mention of Marvel whatsoever. Whichever it ends up being, we expect Law's character will play an integral role in the original story of Carol's powers. If it's Jan Rog, so be it, but I sincerely hope we get a Marvel somewhere in there. Number 9. Phoenix Force. While we wait on the Dark Phoenix movie to come out hopefully this summer, I have some plans, some dreams for Phoenix in the interim. Wouldn't it be cool if the Phoenix Force melded with Captain Marvel? Okay, I know it'll probably never happen, but this is a list of wants, of dreams, not of reality. And I think a great ending for Thanos and the Avengers franchise could lie with the marriage of these two entities. Although Captain Marvel has never been possessed by the alien entity that saves Jean Grey and creates Phoenix and later Dark Phoenix, the two have crossed paths in the comics. In Avengers vs. X-Men, Miss Marvel, now Captain Marvel, fights against the Phoenix Force in an attempt to stop it from arriving on Earth. Although she isn't much of a match for the entity, it would be neat to see Captain Marvel merge with the Phoenix Force to take down Thanos. After all, the Phoenix Force is probably one of the few entities that could defeat him. Also, never mind Kree vs. Skrulls, Avengers vs. X-Men would make for a great film in and of itself. Number 8. Spider-Woman. Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman on Earth 616, and Carol Danvers have always been super close in the comics. And while they haven't always played nice, remember in Civil War The Initiative, that time that Carol lied to Jessica, claiming that Captain America was still alive after the events of the first Civil War, in an attempt to trap Jessica with other Avengers that were loyal to Cap, whom Carol had rounded up? Still, despite their differences, the two are usually there to help each other, and both belong to the Avengers, a point that Carol fights to point out to Tony Stark in the same comic. With so many Avengers MIA in the aftermath of Avengers Infinity War, I think it would be super cool to see Spider-Woman introduced and later join the Avenger team in the MCU. After all, how many Spider-Women exist in the comics? So many! And so far only a few have graced the big screen. Would love to see Jessica Drew, among others, join those ranks. Number 7. Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones is probably the best friend of Captain Marvel in the comics, and I would love to see their friendship portrayed on screen as well. I know what you're thinking. If you are a fan of the Marvel Netflix series Jessica Jones and not an avid comic book reader, what do you mean best friends? Where was Captain Marvel in the series? Remember Trish, aka Patsy Walker, blonde, best friend of Jessica in the series? Yeah. Trish was meant to be a stand-in for Carol Danvers in that series. Melissa Rosenberg, creator of the show, actually originally planned to have Carol in the show, but then the production moved from ABC to Netflix and the series changed a lot. Also, yeah, there are a lot of Jessicas in the Marvel multiverse. Although the two don't yet appear to know each other in the MCU, how cool would it be if Jessica Jones got to move to the big screen in a run-in with Carol Danvers? Jessica Jones is probably my favorite of the Marvel shows that have aired to date, and I personally would love to see actress Kristen Ritter join Brie Larson on the silver screen. Number 6. Captain Marvel. No, not the Captain Marvel, not Carol Danvers. I'm talking about Monica Rambeau. For those of you that don't know, Monica Rambeau has actually briefly worn the Captain Marvel name as well. Also known as Spectrum, Monica is an underrated superhero who deserves to be lifted up. What would be really cool is if she ends up being the one that Nick Fury called at the end of the Avengers Infinity War. Not only has she been part of the anti-terrorism team Next Wave, as well as joining Black Cat, Hellcat, and Firestar in the Marvel Divas comic series, but she also was once the leader of the Avengers. Number 5. Guardians of the Galaxy. While there has been speculation that Captain Marvel will be somewhat of a prequel to Guardians of the Galaxy, this has yet to be proven. However, in regards to the comics, Captain Marvel and the Guardians of the Galaxy have already crossed paths. While the MCU timelines don't quite add up for this, it would be cool to see the cosmic heroes join each other in an adventure on screen. In the comics, Carol meets the Guardians after heading to space to do some soul searching. You can read more about their brief adventures in the 2014 Captain Marvel series. In fact, I highly recommend that you do. While most of the Guardians get along with Carol, Rocket ends up mostly just causing her grief, after trying to murder her cat, CHEWIE. Yes, Carol brought a cat on a space adventure, accusing it of belonging to an alien race known as Flurkins. Which brings me to number 4, CHEWIE. That's right, CHEWIE is Carol's lovable ginger cat. CHEWIE has been with Carol in the comics since 2006. One of the first appearances of CHEWIE involves a kind of silly incident in which Carol thinks her cat may actually be a mutant after it begins to speak. The cat reveals itself as Dr. Stephen Strange, and then confesses to Carol that she is dreaming and needs to wake up. Upon waking, Carol rubs the cat's belly, and after she, the cat, meows, Carol calls out, "Stephen?" Turns out it was a dream, and her cat is just a normal cat. Or rather, not a cat, but as Rocket Raccoon later suspects, is a Flurkin, who also ends up laying hundreds of eggs in her spaceship. Despite this revelation and CHEWIE's newborns, after they safely find a place for the new kittens, baby Flurkins to thrive, CHEWIE returns to Carol's side. And yes, Carol did name her cat after Chewbacca. Number 3. Miss Marvel, aka Kamala Khan. Kamala is one of Miss Marvel's biggest fans, and received her powers as a result of exposure to Terrigen Mists. Fun fact, Terrigen Mists are also somewhat responsible for another favorite superhero of mine, Black Bolt's powers. Kamala adopted the mantle Miss Marvel just as Carol dropped it. Kamala is a bit of a weird kid, which is why I think she is so popular among fans. I really love her because her outlook and her experiences, feeling like being an outsider, seem to mirror that of my own when I was growing up. And I'm sure for a lot of other nerds out there this resonates. Some might even consider Kamala to be more popular than Carol is with Marvel fans. The two have worked together in the comics, and I think it would be super cute if we saw Kamala fight alongside Carol in the MCU. Number 2. Moonstone and the Dark Avengers. One of my favorite fights in the comic book world is between Moonstone and Captain Marvel, i.e. at the time Miss Marvel. In the comics, this happens right in the middle of the Dark Avengers story arc, where Moonstone is standing in as their Miss Marvel, after Carol turned down the position. What's great about this battle is we get to see two different but equal Miss Marvels duke it out. And although they both seem very different, they both stand for very different things, they are also somewhat similar. They are both tough, ruthless, and aren't afraid to push themselves. Granted, seeing any members of the Dark Avengers in the MCU would be awesome, but if we got to see Moonstone, aka Carla Sofin, and Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers, go head to head in the film, that would be extraordinary. Number 1. Rogue. What is one of the best things about Carol Danvers? Her involvement with Rogue. These two have a feud that goes way back in comic book history, back to when Rogue was actually first introduced. In fact, without Carol, Rogue would not have a lot of the abilities that we know her to possess today. After virtually disappearing in the comic book world, being abducted, brainwashed, and assaulted by the villain Marcus Immortus, we find Carol has lost both her memories and her powers. Of course, who does it turn out to be to blame but Rogue, who back then was a villain, albeit a somewhat misled one. Although Carol later regained her new powers, not all of her memories could be restored, leaving Carol somewhat irreparable and feeling never fully whole again. Unfortunately, the rights for X-Men and Marvel being separated means we probably won't get to see this in the film. But even a nod to Rogue would be brilliant. She is one of my favorite X-Men, and those two share such a rich, epic, and turbulent history, it seems a shame to leave it out. I hope you enjoyed watching this list as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you are excited for all the upcoming Marvel films, please click that like button and feel free to share this video. And if you are just a movie nerd in general, be sure to head on over and subscribe to our new channel, Top 10 Beyond the Screen, where you can share your love of films with us. I'm your host, Amanda McKnight, thanking you for watching and reminding you to stay nerdy, YouTube.